utilized. We're also going to go over that general process again that we talked about last time, because it's the easiest way for people to get started. And computers are running very, very slow today for some reason. Okay, we're all ready to go. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for being part of our Genius community. Also, today, we'll take your questions. So whatever questions you have about your Genius, a feature you'd like to see, you'd like to look at, something you'd like me to review, you'd like to volunteer for a case, get involved, be part of our training, ask questions, even if they seem like the smallest trivial question, I welcome you to ask them. Let's go over the events of the week, because we do have a lot of events in our Genius Biofeedback community each and every week. Now, if you're looking for the handout for today, you can go to our blog at geniusbiofeedback.com. Simply go to the blog and you can download this link, which is where the little handout is for today. And you could also grab your success cards. So if you have the desk reference success cards, let me see if I can grab mine from here. If you have the desk reference success cards, you want to follow along with those Nogier frequencies, and we'll talk all about them. They're one of the most powerful parts of the Genius, and they're often like an unsung hero of the Genius. So you can download that right here. You can also see our events coming up. So starting with today is the 15th of August. And today we have our weekly training. Then our newsletter comes out later today. So that's our community newsletter telling you all about different articles of interest and new features, things that are coming up with our Genius community, new classes and so forth. And then tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Eastern time, we have a review with Benet Benke. She will give you all the information you need to know about practitioner level 2. So practitioner level 2 is all about cancer and healing chronic cases. What is the methodology for somebody who comes in and says, I have headaches, I have hormonal issues, I'm tired, I don't sleep well, I have mood swings. What do you do when somebody has complex issues going on? How do you work with them with the Genius? And somebody has something, a chronic case, a chronic illness, how do you work with cancer? Of course, we never say that we heal anything, but we help to remind the body how to heal itself. And we go through frequencies that are related to the particular issue. In cancer, we have to work with the digestion, the immune system, the hormones, toxins, the detox pathways of the body. And so that's what we do there. And then business members, we meet on Wednesday, and we'll be talking about neuroregeneration as well as marketing your practice. Now, we do have a new event on Wednesdays at noon Pacific time, 3 o'clock Eastern. And we started last week. If you saw that at 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific time, there's going to be 2 hosts. They alternate, and Mary Sunshine is our host coming up for this week. So if you've ever seen Mary on the Miracles Hour, she's a really gifted practitioner. She knows her stuff, and she's going to do a weekly Q&A. So it is similar to what we do here. This is more advanced. When on Wednesdays, the people who should come to Wednesday is, I'm new, I don't know where to get started, and especially just got my system and I need help. So if you just got your system, you need help, maybe you did go for your orientation, but you need more help, come to our weekly free Q&A. The weekly free Q&A is really for that beginner person. Of course, everyone is welcome. So if you want to review, but it will be really driven by questions that people bring to class. You can also have people who have never gotten their Genius and you're referring them and you want them to get questions answered, please send them to the Wednesday. Now, if you click on all of these events, you should be able to click on the Zoom and register right from our events page. On Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 o'clock Eastern, I have a podcast. And last week on the podcast, I talked about sacred geometry and some of the connections to the Genius and some of the information about sacred geometry that has nothing to do with the Genius. So on Thursdays, you can join me live for the podcast. We often have guests. This week, I'm going to be talking about the Grabovoi numbers, and I'll be talking about the power of numbers in general and why numbers and frequency are so related and what you need to know about numbers in general that can help you in your life. So we have a lot going on this week, and we have a lot going on today. So today we're talking about the Nogier frequencies, and we're going to take a volunteer, but let's just talk briefly about what the Nogiers are. So if you go to this page, it's at geniusbiofeedback.com, go to the blog, the most recent blog, and you can find the blog through this link. We can relink it one more time. And just, I'll take any of your general questions that you have for sure. And there we go. There's that link again. All right, I guess I didn't post it yet. So there's that link now. It's the blog. And the way to find the blog is that you go to the education menu and you go to the last menu at the bottom, which is our blog. And then we have all of our classes posted here, and should be able to click here. Yeah, there. And then we go to here, and let's just go ahead and download it. Then you just download it and you can save it. Of course, this is from the Mastery Guide. So if you have the Mastery Guide, you will already have that available. Okay, now, if you do not have the Mastery Guide, you can actually go to Amazon.com, and we've uploaded a Kindle version. It's the same price as our ebook. So if you don't have the Mastery Guide, or you just think, maybe I'd just like to have it on my Kindle so it's handy, you can now just go to Amazon.com and look for me as an author under Ariel Policano, and you'll see that we've published the Mastery Guide as an actual Kindle book. So it's also be a great way to just, if somebody was new to the Genius and they wanted to learn about the Genius, they could download the Kindle book and have it on their Kindle. So it's available there. And let's see, is there a way to save emails in the app that we use each and every week to share frequencies with repeat clients? Are your questions just a way to suggest new features, Don? I always like your ideas, though. I don't honestly know. You can do that. You can actually add a member. So if you've not activated that person, you can just add a member, and then you should be able to populate their email by searching within the database of your members. But I could definitely check and find out. I assume maybe you've already done that because you're very thorough. And so if that is a suggestion, you can absolutely let us know. All right, so who is Dr. Paul Nogier? Dr. Paul Nogier was a French physician who really had some unique ideas. And he actually developed the field of auricular therapy, or auriculotherapy. And he also found that there were certain systems of the body that had a certain resonance to them. So he took that resonance, that pure optimal resonance, and was able to apply it, figure out what the frequency is, and figure out that if you played the frequency similar to a tuning fork, you could move that system into alignment. And the systems come out of embryological development, including the ectoderm, the endoderm, and the mesoderm. And out of that growth of the embryo, he connected it to different systems. So what you can really do with the Nogiers is add them to every single session that you do in order to add to the effect that you'd like to create. So another way to use the Nogiers is actually to imprint them into water. So you could take all of the Nogier frequencies and put them in your quick zap and then imprint them into your remedy plate. On the podcast, we featured a new remedy plate, which has a tesseract field over here, and is very good for concentrating energy. So this is pretty good for charging up water. And we're going to talk about this more. We'll have a YouTube video on it soon about what the implications of this particular remedy plate. Any remedy plate will really do. These are just really just fun things to play with. And so this would be, I think the Tesseract one is great for charging up water because it really focuses and concentrates energy in a certain direction. It's actually run through battery power and connects right to the Genius and runs the Genius Frequencies. So you could take all of the Nogier frequencies and put them into water. If you don't have a remedy plate, you could use headphones. If you don't want to do that, you could just run the frequencies. But a way to tonify the entire body is to take all of the Nogier frequencies and then put them together, and then consume them in some way, maybe imprint them into gemstones, or imprint them into a wristband, or imprint them into like a bracelet. Lots of different ideas there. So the first one, which is 292 hertz. Now this is pretty cool because it's for cellular vitality. So if you just think about cellular vitality, that just to have more energy when you're working on your adrenals, you could just imprint water with the cellular vitality frequency on its own. So there are lots of creative ways to do this. We do have practitioners who start every session with the Nogier frequencies and would not actually do any sessions at all without incorporating them, because they've been so profound, especially in helping people with physical issues. So helping people, particularly with the reduction of pain or headaches. Although we don't say we treat that, we can run the frequencies, and hey, if they have a positive impact, you know, what can we do? So there we go. All right. So cellular vitality resonates with the ectoderm, means that that system grew out of the ectoderm and is related to systems that grew out of the ectoderm. Let's just go ahead and look at the Nogiers side by side here. Okay. So Nogier A. So resonates with the ectoderm that forms skin, glands, nerves, eyes, ears, teeth, brain, and spinal cord, assists with wound healing, skin and nerve repair, reduces scar tissue, inflammation, and tumors. So we also have on the cards themselves, it's associated or can help with energy, the eyes post-surgery. So post-surgery, you have something of some type of a process you could do for someone, and you include Nogier A. It opens the energy of the skin, eyes, teeth, ears, spine, and like we said, nerve repair. So it's a good idea to sort of sit with some of the, to sit with this information, really look at it, try to memorize some of it so that you can be thinking about it when you have someone present to you with a certain issue. You can sort of scratch your head and say, you know what? I remember now, post-surgery, the Nogier A is really, really good to run, or somebody who's just incredibly exhausted. What if we just take Nogier A and we imprint it into water, or maybe some type of liquid electrolyte mixture? That could be another idea. So let's take that now. Let's take Nogier's, the first Nogier here. And let's put it up in the quick zap. All right, so now we have it in the quick zap. So now we want to increase its effect. So let's go to today's stress and let's find the adrenal glands. And then let's take the adrenal glands and add that in with the Nogier, because the Nogier is about cellular vitality. And let's add the adrenal frequency to that. Then we want transformation and miracles. We want to increase the effect. So let's go ahead and add 528 hertz. Now we've got Nogier A for cellular vitality. We've got the adrenal glands, and we've got the 528 hertz. Now, if you listen to my podcast about sacred geometry, we talked a lot about the Fibonacci sequence and the power of the golden ratio. So let's go ahead to sacred geometry, and let's go ahead and pull up, really they're very, very similar. Let's pull up that energy of the golden ratio. So the golden ratio or Fibonacci is going to be about the energy of perfection. You want to restore things to their natural order. You want to restore the body to its perfection, so you can utilize the energy, the frequency of the golden ratio. And now you sort of scratch your head and you start to think of, okay, what would be other things that could be related to this energy What else could I utilize? What would help people with their vitality? And so you could go to the body systems. So let's look at body systems. And let's go ahead and pull up I was thinking of the circulatory system to enhance the flow of everything, right? So if you can enhance the flow and decrease stagnation, then you can have more energy. So we have the Nogier A, the adrenals, 528 hertz, the energy of the golden ratio, the circulatory system. You get the idea. And now we could just choose the time. We could run it on 1 minute. We could run it for 15 minutes, but that's activating. We could imprint it into water. So there's just a lot of different ways that you could go about utilizing that. Okay, I recently completed a class on auricular therapy. It was fascinating. Okay, so Christina said the Nogiers are missing in my mastery guide, and Deborah was helpful, and she said check page 38 in the mastery guide. And is this remedy plate displayed somewhere? We haven't put it on the website yet, but we should have the video on it and have it available in our weekly newsletter for you to look at and learn about. Okay, good question. So welcome everyone. Welcome to your week. Thank you for being here. Now is a good time for you to ask your questions. So if you've come to class and you know everything, then you are absolutely awesome. And we can just help you and enhance from there. But if there's something that you'd like to know about the Genius or any of the types of features or things that we utilize, then now's a good time to ask. We are going to talk about the Nogiers, and we'll continue to talk about what you can do with them and what they mean. It's always a good review for everyone, whether you've heard them before. It's good to be able to talk about them and how to use them. So let's just go ahead and we turn that down to 0. I thought it was running for a long time. Let's go ahead and turn that off for now. Now, before I go further with the Nogiers, for everyone who is new, if you just got your Genius, or maybe you've had it, you haven't been using it as much, let's just talk about one of the most basic and easy things that you can do. And I'm asking the ladies who are teaching the Q&A to also highlight this. If we go to the general overview, so we just go from system overview and we tap on the system overview, we go to general overview and we tap the begin analysis, we will now be able to look at the highest items and the lowest items. So let's go ahead with the high items. And let's just choose. So this would be, you got your Genius, you don't know what to do. Just simply go down to the main hold tray. Can't see this on my screen. Okay, the main hold tray, and then get all the red items and get all the blue items into your main hold tray. You're probably going to have about 200 on average, a little bit more, a little bit less. And all you need to do, this is like a 1, 2, 3 process. All you need to do is take these items, bring them into the Progressive Insights, tap the begin analysis button, and you're almost done. This is going to make utilizing the Genius so much easier. Sometimes we don't show the simple because we think in such a complex way. And then you just put these high items on, and then you put the timer on 15 minutes, and then that's it. You just basically take the highs and the lows from general overview, which is the ultimate highs and lows of the entire system. And then you rescan them for prioritization. From that 200, we want an even narrower focus of what's important. And then we're going to go ahead and just run those high items or even export them to our Quanta capsule. So that's it. It's just, I'm going to show it one more time because I know it goes fast. So it's like a 3-step process. You would do the general overview, and the way that you get there is just tap one time. That's not doing it. Tap one time from system overview. I'm going to tap on that. Brings me to general overview. I would run the general overview, and then I would basically use the bulk drag and drop function, red items. We already did it, and then blue items. And then again, so we would have 200 in the main hold tray. We basically go to Progressive Insights. We already balanced, but we would just begin analysis again. This is like a rescan. And then we would just simply select the high items, which is right here, set the timer for 15 minutes and hit play. So that is the absolute easiest way. I'm going to do a few videos on that to get started, because the biofeedback is so powerful, but the biggest stumbling block for people is how complex it is to use the Genius. They don't know the meaning of things. And so, for years, just try to find the easiest way that people can get started. And I think this is one of the easiest ways that people can get started. There's true magic in recording the voice and picture and allowing the system to find the very highest highs and the very lowest lows. That's showing you where the real energies that you need for that day are at the very highest level, the very lowest level. So the most reactivity is going to have the most impact. And so this could be a way that you start with your client. You just start from this perspective and maybe start to pick up what things are coming up high and low, and then go back and do something else. But for beginners, I think this will be immensely powerful. Okay, what do you do with a client while an extended analysis timer is running? Do you talk with the client, allow quiet time, etc.? What I would recommend is that you find something on YouTube that you could play if you have a Zoom up to play simultaneously. There's lots of 528 solfeggio YouTubes, something that they could watch visually unfold. So there's all types of animations that play solfeggio frequencies, and have them just watch that and focus. And then you could take yourself off the screen, or if you were in a brick and mortar, you could walk out of the room and allow them to just visually be entertained by that while they experience the frequencies. Question on grounding excess frequency. Is there a recommended grounding set? Recently, I was told about grounding, not Earth, but above at the sun. Is there a process planetary you found great for grounding above 9D individuals? Yes, just last night before I went to bed, I was working on the 9D individual grounding process. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great recommendation, Jared. I love it. It's very specific. So if you would email me about grounding for 9-dimensional individuals, I'll be happy to absolutely look it over and come up with something. And you're super smart and you know what you're talking about. So you may want to take the different pieces of the Genius and start to put together a grounding process that's invented and created by you. So there are many different ways to think about grounding. We just lost the reflector for a moment, but there's many different ways to think about grounding, all the wonderful ways that you already know about. And you could utilize, obviously, the chakras, the meridians, the different, obviously a lot of libraries, but think about what you consider to be grounding, and absolutely think you could come up with something wonderful for people. I definitely think the Genius can be used for great health processes, but also for ascension and moving into higher levels of dimensionality. And so it really is only limited by your own imagination where you want to take that. But I'd love to hear how your clients experience that wonderful high vibrational grounding process that you come up with for them. Can you talk about the fractals that go with the frequencies? So Andrea, when you say the fractals that go with the frequencies, can you give me a little bit more information of what you're talking about? You're talking about the fractals that is in the Quanta capsule, or which fractals are you talking about? Okay, so let's go back to Nogier B. Nogier B is 584 hertz, and it's for people with digestive issues, and it may improve nutritional assimilation. So this is wonderful. So why would we use Nogier B? Somebody comes in with leaky gut. Somebody comes in, actually, they can't lose weight. There's always a digestive issue related to that. Somebody comes in with a chronic illness. And also, if they're in today's stress and you notice that this frequency comes up often, which is the nutritional frequency. So if the nutritional frequency comes up as red or blue, this often is not related to the food, although it could be. But if they say, oh, I eat super healthy, then it's usually related to their ability to assimilate. So let's look at Nogier B. And let's talk about some things that go nicely with Nogier B. So in Nogier letter B, 584 hertz, let's take it up into the quick zap. And you can shout out some suggestions as well that you would like to include. I'm going to think about things like the digestive system. I'm going to think about things like enzymes, flora. What other ideas do you have? What should we do, which would be like a digestive tonic? What other frequencies could we include? This frequency chimes in perfect resonance with the endoderm, the innermost tissue. And that really makes you think innermost tissue, that's a lot of the mucosa. A lot of the mucosa is, this is a very intimate part. This is how we interact with the world we're taking into us, is in the mucosal membrane, right? It could be inside the respiratory system. It could be inside the digestive system. This is a very important thing to consider, because when there's inflammation or there's leaky gut, this is all because of often an impairment in the mucous membrane, the lining of the gut, the lining of the stomach, the lining of the small intestine. So this could be very, very important to correct that, to harmonize it. So it's in perfect resonance with the endoderm, the innermost tissue that forms the lining of the intestinal tract, the lungs, the bladder, the urethra, the auditory tube. The ectoderm, so it should be the endoderm, also forms the thyroid, the thymus, the liver, the gallbladder, and the pancreas. 584 hertz appears to improve nutritional assimilation, allergy issues, which is again related to that mucosal membrane, which could be in the nasal passages as well. So it could be sinuses, and balances the parasympathetic nervous system. 584 hertz can also be used for circulatory problems, edema, lymph issues, autoimmune disease, and the immune system, including allergies. So a lot of things there. Okay, no suggestions at all about what to include. No big deal. It's all good. Okay, so 584 hertz, Nogier B. Now knowing it could be used for circulatory, edema, lymph, autoimmune, immune system issues. Let's go ahead and let's look at some of the other choices that we would have. Now, it's too bad we can't make this smaller. Let's go ahead and just close it for a moment. So 284 hertz, so 584 hertz, Nogier B digestive. Now let's go ahead head over to the solfeggios on your cards, your desk reference success cards, 285 hertz. So let's take 285 hertz. It says expressing uniqueness, but it's so much more than that, 285. It helps to return tissue to its original form or its original frequency. What does that mean? So we play the perfect resonance, just playing, going back to Jared's question about grounding. Yeah. When you think about it, Jared, when you're playing a body physical resonance to someone, which is their natural home resonance, that could have the power of grounding. So a grounding process, because the Nogiers are so inherently physical, could be running all of the solfeggio frequencies together as contributing to a grounding process. So let me know what kind of luck or success you have with that, or what you play around with. I'd love to hear that experience. So 285 hertz influences energy fields, sending them a message to restructure damaged organs. It also leaves your body rejuvenated and energized. So even 285 hertz, now we can learn that it will go very nicely with what? With Nogier A for cellular vitality. But it goes great here because we can bring the digestive tissue back to its original form. The truth is, if you ran digestive frequencies on every person who came in to see you, a person with diabetes, cancer, headaches, menstrual imbalances, mood swings, I just don't feel good, I don't feel like myself, every single person will probably improve if you do something to improve their digestion, because 80% of the immune system is in the digestive system. What good food, good mood, what you eat is going to influence your mood, whether it's being broken down properly, assimilated. all of these things, the whole health of the body really rests on the health of the digestive system. So detoxification and digestive cleansing, they really are, even though it seems trite or it seems cliche, they really are in a way a cure-all for all that ails people. It happens so much with the quality of the food that they're eating and their own inherent ability to actually digest that food properly, to strip from it what is needed, to utilize what is needed in terms of enzymatic breakdown and the health of the microbiome, and then properly eliminate that which is not needed. So Nogier B, and then 285 hertz to restore it to its original home frequency. Of course, there are things we can take from the digestive panel itself, and that would include things like enzymes and flora are the two that come to mind. But when you really think about it, any or all of these could be utilized. So you could just take the small intestine, the large intestine, the gallbladder, the stomach, the pancreas, those would all go together. What we're doing is we're taking these organs and we're harmonizing those, but we're also applying a frequency that will chime the digestive system into perfection. And we're kind of mixing them all together. And then we're also restoring all of these things to their original form. And so this can be quite powerful. I like these sort of mini quick zap balancers for 1 or 5 minutes to be able to concentrate or focus on something in particular, something a very focused way of doing something. Okay, so Madeline says, when I was doing a balancing last week, this came up, like estrogen too high was in red, I assume, something like that. Estrogen too low was in blue. So she saw estrogen too high and estrogen too low in the same panel. So the reason that this can happen is the only real meaning of the reds and the blues. Let's get that spotlight back. So let's just go ahead and let's take a moment and just reflect on something here. Blues and reds, what do they mean? The only true meaning of a blue or a red is the genius saying this frequency would be beneficial. When you look at estrogen too high or estrogen too low, it means those frequency elements on there, those little library pieces, need to be placed into the tray, that the frequencies inherently within them need to be run for that person. Now, beyond that, you don't need to do anything. All you need to do is put the reds and the blues into the tray and hit the play button. Of course, we want to know more, so we want to imbue meaning into that red and blue. But we're not always going to get the exact meaning, because all the genius is going to do is tell us frequencies that we need to utilize, that we need to balance at that moment. What will be the upshot of those frequencies? The person will feel better, they'll feel refreshed, they'll sleep better, everything in the body will begin working better. So you do not need to know the ultimate meaning, but you want to know the ultimate meaning. So Madeline, you say they're both in red. You're probably just, that's totally fine. They were both in red. That's fine. Doesn't matter if they're in red or blue. So your job is just to add them to the tray. You don't have to do anything else. You don't need to give an interpretation in order for them to have a positive effect on the client. Now, that being said, the reason that you can get reds and blues that where it says estrogen high and estrogen low, that's accurate. Because what it's telling you is estrogen is out of balance. And so if estrogen is too low, comes up, that could trigger also an out of balance frequency. It's too low and it's too high. It could also be that it's fluctuating. So especially in perimenopause and menopause, that happens. Sometimes it's too high and sometimes it's too low. It could also be too high and too low at different times of the day or different times of the month. So the genius was never meant to be a lab test to interpret things that way. It's simply telling you the frequencies that are out of balance. We get that a lot too with the EEG where it says alpha is too high, alpha is too low. And the only thing that we can conclude is, yes, the alpha is out of balance in some way and needs to be harmonized. So that's a very, very good question. Okay. If we include all the Nogiers and solfeggios each scan, are we overloading, or will they create a beautiful harmony working together that will potentialize the entire scan? So there's no downside to including all of the Nogiers and all of the solfeggios. I like to do it in a little bit more organized fashion. So I like to separate them, but you don't need to do that. So for example, if I were to do that for all the Nogiers, I like to do it from a quick zap perspective or a singular export to the capsule. So let's look at both of those options. So for example, if the person was present with me or I was running my own session, I would take the Nogiers and I would simply gather them up. Okay, I would gather them up from here. And I would we just have yellow, yellow, and then we don't have any red, yellow, and then green. So we have there's 8 Nogiers. So that is one way I really like to do it is just do it on its own. And then I would just play those Nogiers for a certain amount of time, separate or at the end of the session or separate from those frequencies. So also you could just gather them up in the main hold tray. Oh, this is what I don't do. Why is it doing that? 'Cause it's on that screen. So I need to go back to the screen. Of course I do. Need to go back to the biofield, which is down here. Okay, and so now we're going to gather up all of the yellow, all of the green, and all of the blue, only because then I want to be able to send that. Why is there only 7 now? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now why? Okay, I didn't clear one of those out. That's why. I'm not going crazy. So there's 8. Okay, perfect. Whew. All right. So then I would just put them here just for the purpose of that. I want to be able to share all of those to a Quanta capsule. That's what I wanted to do. So that just makes it easier to share to the Quanta capsule. And I probably would do it as 2 separate playlists. Now, on the other hand, you absolutely could add all the Nogiers and all the solfeggios to the entire scan that you're doing. There's also no downside to that. The genius works in partnership with your own innate intelligence. And so anything that the person doesn't want or doesn't need, it will take what it likes and then leave the rest. So there's nothing wrong with doing that. Pat says, I made a playlist of the solfeggios and Nogiers. Absolutely. And Mardell, I'm sure you're on with us today. She's always recognized that. How do you make a playlist, says Adriana? Well, we can definitely show how to make a custom playlist. Okay, can you talk about the fractals that go with the frequencies, the shape that shows up when the frequencies are playing? Just wondering if watching them would enhance how we experience the frequencies. Yes, it does. So literally there's an algorithm that actually creates the visual sort of silly string that you're seeing always. So going back to the question, what can we do while the person receives frequencies? They certainly could watch this. I probably would dual screen it and I would run some type of animation from YouTube, like with the solfeggios playing, something you just want to entertain them visually. And there's a lot of beautiful sacred geometrical animations that either you could turn the sound down, or you could have the solfeggio energies, or there's lots of other energies that you can do. You know, everything seems to have a dark side and a light side, and YouTube has plenty of wonderful free different frequencies that play along with animation. So frequencies to help you sleep, frequencies to help the immune system, and they dovetail nicely with your genius. You know, you're not just a healer, you're sort of a bit of an entertainer holding space for someone. And so you can entertain them with something beautiful visually that you curate or choose for them and say, I'm going to have you watch this along with listening to your frequencies. And you could side by side, you could have the low YouTube hum of those frequencies playing at the same time as the genius frequencies, and there's no downside to that. So there definitely is an absolute meaning. You're seeing the frequencies from the genius being expressed as a visual expression. And sometimes you see them, they look very interesting. They look like a toroid or something else, three-dimensional, and there's no accident. There is some reason that they're appearing that way. Okay, and thank you for reloading, Sophie, the link for today so people could see the download. And let's talk about how to make a playlist. So custom playlists happen right here. You can see past custom playlists that were created. So everything that you're seeing here, there's more spacing here. This is just temporary until the new version comes out. The new version is almost ready for launch, and we expect it to be launched by September 1st. Has a lot of new features, and it will just take care of some of these little idiosyncrasies that you're seeing here. So these are temporary. So down to the custom playlist, you can see these are the custom playlists in the past that I've created. So we've talked about the Nogier and solfeggios in class before creating them as a playlist. And then we've got the Nogiers that are for brain function, the Nogiers that are like a digestive tonic, Nogiers for injury and structure. Let's go ahead and look at some of those now. We're going to go ahead and empty our playlist. So these are Nogiers we've created in the past, Nogiers that are for digestion. Okay, so we've done this in the past. We've taken Nogier B, G, and E, which all have to do with some element of digestion or balance around digestion. So 528 hertz for transformation and miracles, 285 hertz for restoring tissue to its original form. And then we included the pancreas, the liver, the kidneys, the stomach. And so now we don't have to think about it. We can just bring it up as we need to for a particular client. Let's go ahead and empty that main tray out, quick zap out again, and let's look at some of these other playlists that we have. So if we go down here, custom playlist, we can see that there's another one for brain function. So Nogiers D, G, and L are all for the balancing of the left and right brain, or helping the brain to be more balanced or sharp in some way. Now, let's go ahead and look at how a custom playlist is actually created. To do this, we need to go to our navigation bar at the top right of the screen, which is up here, and we tap on that navigation bar, and it brings us to a choice right here for the custom playlist. These are the custom playlists we'll move this back, that have been created previously. So I've created ones with many different topics: adrenal support, brain harmonization, etc., and so forth. And so let's go ahead and create a new one. So it just really depends on what topic you want to create. We could, I think we said one for adrenal. Keyboard. Okay, adrenal wellness. All right, so now we go here. We can only choose currently for this from Mind, Body, and Biofield. We cannot choose from the custom libraries. And then let's just go ahead and look at these. We can open all of these so we can see what we would like to add. Where's the other one? Oh, Biofield's down here. And so we could go to the Nogiers, which for some reason, why is this not loading? There it is. Okay. Let's go to the Nogiers. And of course, we just talked about the Nogier, which is A. So we would just, all we do is check it. And so then we could actually go to herbs. There's a lot of herbs that are really good for the adrenals. So it would be like astragalus and rhodiola and hoshu wu, or which is foti, and maybe shilajit. All right. And then we talked about the sacred geometry. So we would find sacred geometry, and we could include that golden ratio that we talked about. or anything for the adrenals, right? The adrenals, that's in today's stress, and it goes on and on and on. So then we simply save it and tells us what's actually in it. We could add more items if we wanted to. Actually, this should have been Nogier A. So can we delete this one? And let's add another one. So if we go to the biofield again, we go to the Nogier A, and save it. So now it's corrected. So now just save it again just to make sure. And then we go to adrenal wellness. So now when we go down here to the custom playlist, let's clear it out first, clear this, go to adrenal wellness. And now all of those items now populate. So pros and cons. When you choose a custom playlist, you're not utilizing the biofeedback portion of the Genius. You are making the decision, I want to run these frequencies for this client. So it's taken out the Genius's function as choosing the best frequencies. However, there's no downside. Again, you can choose it, the body's own, ability to reject frequencies. When the reason that we like to use the Genius is to allow it in an objective sense to choose the very best reds and blues for that day. But sometimes we can get an overview, a sense, okay, every frequency that I see when I run the general overview is related to adrenal imbalance, adrenal fatigue. So why don't I just include my custom playlist in the mix? Or maybe I want to play everything from my adrenal custom playlist for the next, 5 minutes for this person, or I want to do a distinct playlist on adrenal health in order to export it to their Quanta capsule. So just be aware when you create a custom playlist that you are overriding the selective ability of the Genius, like to make the decision. I mean, you could put everything from a custom playlist into the main whole tray, and then you could let it further sort of distill out the important things in Progressive Insights. So you could do both. Linda says, I was wondering if there's negative effects of having YouTube running with the solfeggios while sleeping. Okay, I didn't say anything about running this while people are sleeping. We said we were going to run it while we were doing a session and people wanted to be entertained during the time when you're running more frequencies and not talking to them during that time. Now, I don't know why you'd want to look at YouTube while you're sleeping. That doesn't make any sense. Maybe you meant listening to it. You should always be aware of EMFs and shield yourself from EMFs, but this didn't have anything to do with sleeping, which is when you want to be most shielded from EMF. Let's continue on with our Nogiers, but I do invite you to put more questions into the chat. Nogier C, 1,168 hertz, brings coherent frequencies to the mesoderm, the middle tissue that grew from embryonic growth. And, if this makes you curious, go read about the embryological stages of development and read all those stages where everything sort of flowed from. And just you could think about Nogier kind of thinking about the 3 different systems and the systems that stemmed from them. How he came up with this exact resonance, I don't know, but it's quite extraordinary and amazing. So the mesoderm, the middle tissue that forms the connective tissue, such as the ligaments, the tendons, the cartilage, the muscle, and the bone. It also forms the heart, the blood, the lymph vessels, the kidneys, the ovaries, the testes, the spleen, obviously men and women. I'm not applying to all, and the cortex of the adrenal gland. Use it for muscle, skeletal, and myofascial pain. So if somebody has something going on with the muscles or breaks a bone, a fracture, does an intense workout, needs help with revitalizing the muscles, now you could utilize Nogier C. So let's find Nogier C, right? So then you can, you could combine it with anything else that would be related to this. So you could put in muscles, you could put in all the organs, you could put in the different systems, it could also be added to the adrenal wellness. So that's Nogier C. Let's go back to the panel here. All right, Nogier D, 2,336 hertz. Nogier D helps to balance the 2 sides of the brain. May also reduce and handle stress Frequency D can be used for posture disorders, including a false shorter leg and scoliosis. So it's so dynamic, right? If we look at the Nogiers on the desk reference success cards, we've got balancing the left and right side of the brain, reducing stress, brain balance in general. And remember, D, G, and L are all related to balancing the left and right side of the brain. They have just a little bit of a different resonance or flavor to them. So D, G, and L. So maybe for someone who with autism or ADD, or just somebody who has brain fog or has difficulty focusing. And then you could add in the brain EEG elements as well. So you could add in some brain elements. You could add in brain anatomy, right? And you could make just this overall. Now, in the new version, there's going to be a lot more extensive brain anatomy in this particular panel. And then you could just do this as a brain tune-up, right? And you could add in some of the wonderful sacred geometry that we talked about. You could add in the Fibonacci sequence or the toroids. Okay, so let's just go ahead and add some of those. There's the toroid. We even talked about the circles and the Vesica Pisces in the podcast as well, and the reason that we would utilize them. So going back to Andrea's point, there's a very different visual algorithm that we're seeing now. And isn't that interesting how different it is from what we were seeing before? Much more sort of coherent or unified in some way. Nogier E. Nogier E is 4,672 hertz. Frequency E is for spinal and skin disorders. So if you have somebody with back pain, neck pain, maybe we did last week, or where did we do that? Was spinal energy last week. Dale volunteered and we did the tingling in the hands. This frequency brings coherence to the spinal cord and the peripheral nervous system. That's the nervous system that extends from the spinal cord. Veterinary experience reports the reduction of excess calcification, such as bone spurs and arthritic joints. So vets have used the Nogier frequencies. And it's interesting, 4,672 hertz, it can also be used for arthritis, so pain reduction. We also did pain reduction in, I think we did pain reduction in Nogier D as well. What was the one? Yeah. C. So C is for pain and E is for pain. So you could combine C and E as well as other libraries and elements that you have for pain. So if somebody is in pain, now you can start to think about Nogier C and Nogier E together, along with other elements that could be helpful for pain. Okay. Did your podcast on the new software update yet, or is that still upcoming? Did your podcast on the new software update yet, or is that still coming? I'm not sure. Do you maybe mean the Oberon system? We did do a podcast on the Oberon system, which is a nice adjunct for your Genius. And so Angela, you can go to my YouTube channel and look for the podcast we did on the Oberon. But just that related to the new version of the Genius itself, which is going to be fabulous. We're going to have lots and lots of training, live training, recorded training about the new updates, things that are new features, things like that. Okay, good, thank you, Deborah, for asking such good questions. I love it. So let's go ahead and read this one. And everyone who's asking such good questions. Is a client who is hypersensitive on to phone EMFs at risk while using the Quanta capsule to run their frequencies? Is there a way to help them to be able to use the phone for the Quanta? They seem to react to EMFs while using. Well, what I would tell you to do, Deborah, is I would export 528 hertz with every playlist for them. Because if they're running 528 hertz, they're going to be pretty well protected, and it would be more of a form of mitigating the EMFs in that case. Yes, the Oberon. You go to my podcast and you can, we'll be doing some other training classes on the Oberon, just because in a nutshell, what the Oberon does, a different type of biofeedback system, but it executes a series of ordered checks using a headphone. And then that headphone, those checks can help you to then laser focus some of your balancing with the Genius. So these two systems really help each other. And I actually showed, if you want to see me do a scan on myself, I did a scan on myself live during the podcast stream. And you can see me do that and talk about the meaning of the results. A very fascinating system. I wouldn't use one without the other. I think they both go together. My first choice would be the Genius because of its dynamic use. If you're able to add in a second biofeedback tool, it really, really helps you to put the pieces together. And that's what I think we're always trying to do. We're trying to arrive at root cause. And sometimes having the information come in from one system and pulling in from the second system, I am finding to be extremely helpful. For EMF protection, you could put the phone on a shungite plate. I did have a shungite plate right here in front of me. Oh, yes, Christine. Yes, you got your shungite plate. That's good. And thank you so much for recommending it. Are you enjoying it? It's wonderful and it's very powerful. Shungite is lovely. And we have a shungite plate on the website at geniusbiofeedback.com. And you can put your remedy plate right on the shungite. You can put your device right on the shungite for grounding. And there's another one for Jared for grounding, is using a shungite plate or some form of shungite. We have an entire book on shungite. It's the most interesting substance that is really, you could probably put some in your pocket, put some around your home, and it will really help to mitigate some of those effects of EMF. For every problem, there's a solution, isn't it? She says she loves the plate. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm glad. Okay, and there was another question back here. How do you delete items from a custom library, or how do you delete the whole library? I think that there is actually a way to do that now. I saw it when I was doing mine because I made an error. Maybe you saw me when I was doing that. If we go back to our custom playlist, the one that we just did, what happened was I had done Nogier A or Nogier E. So you just slide it to the left and delete if you have an item in there that doesn't belong. Now the whole playlist, I think, same thing. Yeah, you just slide it to the left and delete it, and it will delete. So that's pretty good that those functionalities are available in there. Okay, so now it's interesting if you look at this, we go from 4,672 hertz down to 73 hertz. Isn't that interesting? And then we go to Nogier F, which is known as the harmonic frequency. So that's a very, very powerful frequency in Nogier F. These really are unsung heroes because I think Nogier missed out that he should have named them something, like should have given them all individual names, like harmonic and, brain balancer, and a little better marketing, Nogier, next time. He's no longer with us, but it would have been a lot more lively to use these if we knew that they weren't just associated with letters, right? Because you don't think of them. And so they end up being not as utilized because people don't associate the usefulness with the simple letter. So Nogier F, 73 hertz, resonates with the subcortical lower regions of the brain. So including the thalamus and hypothalamus. So D, G, and L are more for left and right brain balancing. This does have a brain connection. And Nogier F, also, if you look over here on the success cards, really good for emotional balancing. So Nogier F is really good for emotional healing. So even if you just had somebody come in who's very stressed out in a panic attack, you could just run Nogier F on its own for them. Maybe helpful in muscle spasms, facial pain, headaches, and depression. Has been used for bone fractures and to balance hormones, improving circulation. So Nogier F also for the hypothalamus and for circulation in general. Okay, let's quickly get to the rest of these. Nogier G is listed as another type of harmonic frequency. It's again for brain organization, reduces inflammation, and improves gums. So anybody who has loose teeth or receding gums, Nogier G could be used for that. So again, these are places that we often miss how powerful they could be. I mean, you could run the singular Nogier G for yourself and then add in a couple of solfeggios, 528, 285, and just work on that. Sometimes think of fewer frequencies than more frequencies, and you're really able to laser focus on what you're trying to accomplish. So if you were doing any dental balancing, now just make a note to include Nogier G. And then Nogier L 276 hertz. Again, this is one that was added in later. And I don't even know if Nogier necessarily included this, but somehow it was added as a Nogier frequency much later. But it's very good for left and right brain communication. So concentration, memory, depression, dyslexia, good communication between the right and the left brain. Okay, so now during class, we actually gave out, I didn't see anybody actually ask for it. So maybe that you're finding it on the blog, which is good. That's what we wanted to sort of help you to find things that were not easily found before. So if we just go to here, and then we just go to the blog. So the blog is on education tab, to go over and jump down here. And then you can see all of our past recordings here. Let's move this over. And today, August 15th, you can just go to this and then just download this right here. You can also see all of our upcoming events coming up this week, including tomorrow if you want to learn about cancer and chronic illness. Benet is going to be showing some excerpts from our practitioner level 2 course in case you're interested in that. She also always gives a discount coupon when she highlights a particular class. On Wednesday, we're going to be meeting with our business members as well as having a free Q&A. So for people who want to know the basics, come hang out with Mary for an hour at noon or 3 o'clock Eastern. And then check out the podcast if you want to know about the Grabovoi numbers and just the power of numbers in general. All of the Zoom links and other information is available on the events page. All right. Sorry, I missed that. Did you say Nogier G is good for dental? Yes, for gum tissue. Nogier G is good for dental, specifically for the gums. Okay, and Clan Mother Karen says EMF-free, radiation-free earphones, a Faraday cage it, use EMF hat, liners, and clothing, etc. Good EMF updates. Hopefully we'll get Karen. I can connect with her hopefully this week, and we'd love to do a class just on Karen's wellness recommendations like pH balancing and the other wonderful things, yoni steams and so forth that she brings to our community. Thank you for all you do, Karen. So this has been live streaming to YouTube. Remember, if someday you can't make the Zoom, you can just go to my YouTube channel and watch when we go live at the beginning of the hour. You're driving in your car, doing something else, you can listen to our weekly training broadcast this way. It's a great way to get updates, find out if anything's new, anything you need to know about, as well as learn some feature in the Genius that or topic for natural health that we feature that day. Thank you so much for being part of our Genius community, and watch for our newsletter coming out later today. Have a great rest of your day and a wonderful week. Take care. Bye-bye for now.